Some of y'all remember realizing that Diana Ross and Mary Wilson, the two surviving founding Supremes who should have been sisters forever, couldn't stand to be in the same room together. The tension between them lasted decades, through reunions that felt forced, through public statements that barely masked resentment, through a relationship so broken that even Diana's departure from the group in 1970 couldn't end the conflict. This wasn't just professional disagreement. This was personal pain, betrayal, and wounds that never healed despite 50 years passing. Do you remember watching the 1983 Motown 25 reunion? Seeing Diana seemingly push Mary during their performance, that moment captured on camera for millions to witness? That push, whether intentional or accidental, symbolized everything wrong between them. The physical contact that looked like aggression, the body language that screamed resentment, the inability to share a stage graciously, even for one nostalgic performance honoring their shared legacy. The roots of Diana and Mary's feud trace back to the beginning, when Berry Gordy started favoring Diana over Mary and Florence. Mary watched Diana receive preferential treatment, better microphones that picked up her voice more clearly, positioning always center stage, while Mary and Florence flanked her like backup singers rather than equal partners. Berry gradually transformed the Supremes from a trio into Diana Ross and the Supremes, the name change itself erasing Mary's equal status. Mary felt the erasure deeply. She'd been there from the start, when they were the Primettes singing at sock hops, when they auditioned for Motown repeatedly before Berry finally signed them, when they struggled through early failures before Where Did Our Love Go made them stars. Mary had invested everything in the Supremes, and watching Diana receive all the glory while Mary became an invisible backup singer, that created resentment that would never fully heal. Some of y'all remember understanding both sides of this conflict. Diana didn't ask Berry to favor her, at least not initially. Berry recognized Diana's star quality and marketability, making a business decision to position her as the clear lead. Diana accepted the opportunities Berry offered, the lead vocals he gave her, the spotlight he directed toward her. Was she wrong to embrace success when it was offered? Or should she have demanded equal treatment for Mary and Florence, even if it meant less success for herself? Mary's perspective was equally valid. She watched her group stolen, her contributions minimized, her voice literally turned down in the mix while Diana's was amplified. The financial arrangements favored Diana significantly, with Mary earning far less despite equal work and equal commitment. Mary felt used, treated as a replaceable part rather than an essential founding member. Her anger wasn't irrational or petty. It was a justified response to real exploitation. Florence Ballard's forced departure in 1967 deepened the wound between Diana and Mary. Mary believed Diana could have fought harder to keep Florence in the group, that Diana's silence during Florence's removal made her complicit in Berry's cruelty. Diana claimed she tried to help Florence, but couldn't override Berry's decisions. The truth probably lies somewhere between, Diana having some influence, but choosing not to risk her position by challenging Berry too aggressively on Florence's behalf. After Florence was gone, Mary became even more isolated. She was the only original member besides Diana remaining, watching various replacements cycle through Florence's position while Diana's dominance became absolute. Mary stayed because she loved the Supremes and believed in the music, but staying meant accepting secondary status, swallowing pride, performing night after night knowing she'd never receive the recognition she deserved. Diana's 1970 departure should have freed Mary, finally given her opportunity to lead the Supremes without Diana's shadow. But Diana's ghost haunted the group. Audiences compared every lead singer to Diana. Critics dismissed post-Diana Supremes as inferior imitations. Mary spent the 1970s proving the Supremes could succeed without Diana, while never escaping comparisons. The bitterness grew. The public feuding intensified during the 1980s when both Diana and Mary published autobiographies offering competing narratives about the Supremes' history. Diana's version minimized Mary's contributions, portrayed Diana as a passive recipient of Berry's decisions rather than an active participant in her own elevation, painted herself as a victim of Berry's control, while ignoring how that control benefited her at Mary's expense. Mary's autobiography hit back hard. She documented the financial disparities, the deliberate marginalization, the pain of watching Diana receive everything while Mary struggled. Mary's book was angry, righteously so, demanding recognition and acknowledgement that Diana had never given. The competing memoirs made private resentment publicly explicit, neither woman willing to extend grace or acknowledge the other's perspective. Do you remember the interviews where Diana and Mary discussed each other? The careful, diplomatic language that barely concealed contempt. Diana would say Mary was fine or talented, with a tone suggesting dismissal. Mary would praise Diana's voice while implying Diana lacked character or loyalty. The subtext shouted louder than actual words, both women communicating decades of hurt through what they wouldn't say directly. We're working on a video about why I'm Coming Out became more than just a song, how it became an anthem for liberation and self-expression that transcended its original context. Hit subscribe so you don't miss that story. The 2000 Supremes reunion tour should have been a triumph. Diana, Mary, and Cindy Birdsong reuniting for a massive payday in celebration of their legacy. The tour was announced, tickets went on sale, expectations soared. Then Diana abruptly canceled, citing concerns and leaving Mary and the promoters scrambling. The cancellation humiliated Mary publicly, cost everyone millions, and confirmed what many suspected. Diana and Mary couldn't work together even when financial incentive was enormous. Some of y'all remember Mary's response to the cancellation, her barely contained fury, her public statements suggesting Diana had sabotaged the reunion deliberately. Mary believed Diana couldn't bear sharing the spotlight equally, that Diana would rather walk away from guaranteed millions than perform beside Mary as an equal. Whether that assessment was fair or whether Diana had legitimate concerns didn't matter. The damage was done. The feud cemented publicly and permanently. The legal battles followed, disputes over the Supremes' name, arguments about who could perform as the Supremes, fights over catalog royalties and merchandising rights. Each legal filing revealed more bitterness, more irreconcilable differences, more pain that half a century hadn't softened. These weren't business disputes. They were proxy wars for deeper emotional wounds neither woman could acknowledge or heal. Diana's relative silence about Mary contrasted with Mary's willingness to discuss their conflict publicly. Diana generally avoided directly engaging, maintaining a public posture of being above the fray, occasionally offering bland diplomatic statements when pressed. Mary spoke more openly about feeling wronged, about Diana's culpability, about the injustice of their histories. Diana's silence felt like dismissal to Mary, proof that Diana didn't value Mary enough to even engage. The fundamental question underlying their feud was this: did Diana owe Mary loyalty that would require sacrifice in her own advancement? Should Diana have refused Berry's preferential treatment, demanded equal billing and equal pay, risked her success to protect Mary's position? Or was Diana entitled to accept opportunities offered, to embrace her star power, to pursue success without guilt about Mary being left behind? Black communities debated this question in living rooms and barbershops, on front porches and at family gatherings. Some sided with Diana, arguing she earned her success through talent and work ethic, that she shouldn't apologize for being exceptional. Others sided with Mary, insisting success achieved through another person's exploitation wasn't success worth celebrating, that Diana benefited from a system designed to elevate her at Mary's expense and bore responsibility for that harm. Mary Wilson's death in February 2021 at age 76 closed any possibility of reconciliation between Diana and Mary. They never resolved their conflict, never had an honest conversation about decades of hurt, never found a way to acknowledge both their truths simultaneously. Mary died still feeling unrecognized and undervalued. Diana lives knowing reconciliation will never happen. Diana's response to Mary's death was a brief public statement, professional and appropriate, but lacking warmth or the genuine emotion that a long-time partnership might warrant. The careful distance, even in death, spoke volumes about how fractured their relationship remained. Diana praised Mary's contributions and talent, but the statement felt obligatory rather than heartfelt. Words chosen carefully to avoid controversy rather than express genuine grief or regret. Do you remember reactions in Black communities to Mary's death? The outpouring of love and recognition Mary never received while competing with Diana. People celebrated Mary's contributions, acknowledged her grace under difficult circumstances, recognized the injustice of her marginalization. The posthumous appreciation highlighted what Mary had craved during life, recognition as essential to the supreme success rather than just Diana Ross's backup singer. Some of y'all wondered whether Diana felt relief or regret, whether Mary's death freed Diana from a decades-long reminder of wounds she'd caused, whether Diana wished she'd extended a hand for reconciliation while Mary still lived. We'll never know Diana's private feelings, whether guilt or justification dominates her thoughts about Mary, whether she believes she did anything wrong or maintains she was simply a victim of Berry's decisions. The legacy assessment of Diana versus Mary reveals how history favors the winners. Diana is remembered as the star, the icon, the legendary solo artist. Mary is remembered, if at all, as the other supreme, Diana's longtime partner who never achieved comparable solo success. The historical record reflects the same imbalance that existed during their careers, Diana receiving credit and attention while Mary remains a footnote. But some reassessment is happening. Younger generations learning the Supreme's history recognize Mary's essential contributions, understand the exploitation she endured, appreciate her dignity and grace despite marginalization. Mary's legacy is growing, not to Diana's level, but receiving recognition Mary deserved during life. The reassessment doesn't diminish Diana, but contextualizes her success within systems that elevated some voices while suppressing others. The broader lesson from Diana and Mary's feud extends beyond their personal conflict. Their story reveals how the entertainment industry pits artists against each other, creates competition for limited recognition and resources, structures success so someone must be elevated while others are marginalized. Berry Gordy's decision to favor Diana wasn't just about Diana's talent. It reflected the industry's belief that groups need one clear star rather than multiple equal members. The racial and gender dynamics matter too. Black women especially faced limited opportunities. The industry willing to promote one exceptional black female star, but resistant to recognizing multiple black women as equally valuable. Diana and Mary's conflict was partly about personal relationship and betrayal, but it was also about navigating a system designed to create exactly these competitive hierarchies among black women. Some of y'all learned from Diana and Mary's feud about the importance of communication, of addressing resentments before they calcify into permanent estrangement, of recognizing when systems create conflicts between people who should be allies. Their inability to reconcile stands as a cautionary tale, a reminder that unresolved hurts don't fade with time, but instead grow deeper and more intractable. The truth about Diana and Mary's feud is that both women were right and both were wronged. Diana was exceptionally talented and deserved recognition, but the system elevated her at Mary's expense rather than celebrating both. Mary was essential to the Supreme's success and deserved equal credit, but her bitterness about Diana's success sometimes prevented her from acknowledging Diana's genuine gifts. They were trapped in a conflict created by Berry Gordy's decisions and the industry's limitations, unable to escape a pattern set decades earlier. Do you remember wishing they could have found peace? That these two women who'd shared so much history could have acknowledged each other's pain and perspective? That they could have spent their final years as friends rather than estranged former partners? The missed opportunity for reconciliation feels tragic, a waste of decades that could have been spent supporting each other rather than nursing grievances. The question of forgiveness looms large. Should Diana have apologized to Mary for benefits she received at Mary's expense, even if Diana didn't actively orchestrate that imbalance? Should Mary have forgiven Diana for accepting opportunities offered, recognizing Diana was also navigating an impossible situation? Forgiveness requires acknowledging harm done while releasing resentment. Both women struggled with those steps. Some of y'all understand that some relationships can't be repaired, that some wounds are too deep, that sometimes the best outcome is peaceful distance rather than forced reconciliation. Diana and Mary tried that approach, maintaining separate lives and careers, avoiding each other except when professional obligations demanded interaction. The distance protected them from more hurt, but also prevented the healing that honest engagement might have facilitated. The contemporary relevance of Diana and Mary's conflict resonates with modern discussions about success, loyalty, and navigating systems designed to create competition among people who should be allies. This story isn't just historical, it's an ongoing lesson about how industries exploit tensions between talented people, how opportunities get structured so someone's advancement requires another person's diminishment, how difficult it is to maintain solidarity when systems reward competition. What do you think about Diana and Mary's feud? Was Diana wrong to accept Berry's preferential treatment, or was she entitled to embrace opportunities offered? Should Mary have forgiven Diana, or was Mary's anger a justified response to real exploitation? Could they have reconciled if one or both of them had been willing to extend grace? Do you see yourself in either Diana or Mary's position, understanding the choices they made and the hurt they caused? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. Tell us which side you take, or whether you recognize both women's truth simultaneously. Share memories of watching their conflict play out publicly, or stories about how their feud affected your understanding of success and loyalty. Hit that like button if this story touched something real for you. And if you want to help us preserve these complicated, honest stories about our icons, examining relationships and conflicts truthfully, rather than sanitizing history into comfortable narratives, please subscribe. These stories matter, not despite their messiness, but because of it. Real life is complicated, and real people hurt each other while also creating beauty together. Subscribe so we can keep telling these truths.